everyone. So now that you know how to read a piecewise function, I really want us to be really cognizant of the easiest ways to graph a piecewise function. Now, this isn't the only way to do it, and you might decide that as we're going through this, you find a way that you just feel more comfortable with. But one of the easiest ways to graph piecewise functions is actually to use tables. But let's look at what happens when we graph this really easy piecewise function using a table of values. So you can see that I've got f of x equals 2x and 5 over the given domain. So those are the x values that I'm going to be looking at. So those are the pieces within those x values I'm going to be looking at. So I made a table here. So I'd like you to go ahead, press pause, and I'd like you to fill in the table. And let's see if we can you can read the piecewise function carefully. Okay, so if I did all my calculations correctly, you would have gotten -10, -6, 0, 2, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5. Okay, so we're going to graph the order pairs on our table, and we're going to hand sketch this. So again, it's not going to be perfect, but we've got -5, -10. So down here, I'm going to plot a point. -5, -10, -3, -6, so right about there. 0, 0, 1, 2. I'm going to put an open circle at 2, though, because my domain shows me that. Okay, and then I'm going to draw a line through that, like that. Okay, now I'm going to actually color that line. So let me just make it a little colored so you can see it a little bit better. Let's use green. Okay, there we go. Got our line. And there we go. Okay, so then, and again, we got to make sure we know that it's an open circle there. All right, so now I'm going to go to from 2 to 6. So from 2, including 2, to 6, I'm going to have 5. So I'm going to have a closed circle here, and I'm going to have a closed circle. We did all of them. And I'm going to connect those between 2 and 6. So I have a nice horizontal line. Okay? All right, so not the prettiest graph. So how many pieces of the graph do we have? Well, we have 2, right? Because we have 2 functions in our piecewise. And it's important to know, are the pieces rays or segments? Well, they're segments because the inequality has endpoints, right? It doesn't go on forever in one or the other direction. Okay, are all the endpoints solid dots or open dots? Well, we only have one open dot, and it's at 2. And let me make it a little bigger. And that's because it's not included in the domain, but all of the others are. So they're going to be closed dots here, here, and here. And I made this one a little too thick. I guess my big question were all of the x values necessary to graph the functions? Or could it have been graphed using less points? So I want you to think about that for a second. And I'm going to guess you'd say yes, okay? Legitimately, for the line, you really only needed the endpoints. Oh, right here, sorry. You know what, I did make a mistake. Because I didn't go to 2, I went to 1, didn't I? I should have gone to 2, 4. Someone didn't catch me. Coach Fred, what did I do there? Let me fix that. So 2 to 4. Let me extend that green line here. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, so yeah. So 2 and -5 were really the only points I needed. If I had that open circle here, I could have... here. I could have had an open circle at that endpoint, that closed circle at this endpoint, and really just connected them. So if you think about which x values were critical in order to sketch the graphs, it was the endpoints. Okay? So if I were going to create a table for each of these functions, so the function y equals 2x and y equals 5, I'm really going to only find the points that are on the endpoints of my domain. So for example, I'm going to put in -5 and 2 to this function. And this function, I'm going to put 2 to 6. So 2 to 6, we would have gotten 5 on both of those, and then -5, -10, and 2, 4. Okay? All right, so I'm going to ask you to try the next graph on the next page. Do it all by yourself. So press pause, and then let's come back and check our work. Okay? Okay, so hopefully you just chose the endpoints as the inputs of your function. So for this function, I used -8 and 1, and for this function, I used 1 and 7. I evaluated each of the functions individually with those points, and then I graphed them, making note of my open circle at the 1 and my open circle. But yeah, that's the only open circle I have. Okay? All right, now I think it's important to note that these were both piecewise functions or defined piecewise functions for lines. We are going to be looking at graphs that have that are other types of piecewise functions, but for now I just wanted you to feel comfortable with how to read them and the best ways to graph them. Okay? All right, so hopefully that was helpful. Have a great day.